let's hear about your design philosophy for this final collection. Let's move to your final collection and let's understand what is your design philosophy all about. What made you get into this theme and the story? What is personally connected to you here, and whatever, tell us.
Yeah, so the inspiration that I wanted to choose had to be something which was very personal, so that I could dive deep into it and then do a lot of research, because it's not that you do the research for a day and then go to the next step. You'll have to keep going back at it.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose an inspiration from my region, which is Badgi chili, as you can see here. So it's found in so this is found in almost every Indian household. It's a traditional spice, but there's more to it. So I wanted to choose something which is very relevant to the contemporary times. So hence this, not just as a spice, it's the oil in it is used in cosmetic industries, in pharmaceutical, as a preservative. So it's a very diverse application to a product, right? So I chose that as an inspiration. Cut.
Yeah, and okay. Yeah, say it again. Yeah.
Where was I? Ajji Sari.
Your
That story, do you want me to narrate that?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So as I was interning with Saurav Das, we were selling handloom saris in this exhibition in Bangalore, and then a lady who had purchased handloom saris came to exchange it the next day, saying there were a lot of damages in the sari. But when we inspected it, we could see that they were just minor irregularities that you can see in any handloom weaves. So that is when I kind of dived deep into the topic of handloom saris and then researched a lot on that. I connected with few weavers, and then one of them who runs Khana Weaves, it's an organization in Guled Gudda, Karnataka. So I traveled there, met the weavers, and the process behind making one sari takes around 15 days. So, and it supports life of 8 artisans. So there was a lot of depth to it. Like, they are currently facing challenge with power loom industries, but then I wanted to incorporate these weaves because the irregularities in these saris is what makes them beautiful and unique. So wanted to combine that with my inspiration to create a fusion wear which is very relevant to the contemporary woman.
So before we begin with any project, definitely there has to be some sort of a research to identify where your collection fits in. And that research is either through market research, trend research, or any other factor, which again has been explained in this video, which is right here. So Shantari, what was the exercise that you did in terms of research before coming into this theme, and where do you find your collection placing well in this entire scheme of things? Tell us.
Yeah. So like I said, I always want to find a need and then kind of solve the problem there. So when I did a gap analysis in the Indian occasion wear market, we can see that it's currently inundated with brands which are just doing a lot of heavily embellished garments or either just printed stuff. So that is where I thought that we need to fill the gap wherein there's less of embellishment, less of print, but maybe more of texture, and then simple silhouettes, which are very interesting for the market. So this is the gap I wanted to fill, and thereby came my collection. Let's have a look at the mind map. So you start with writing like whatever maybe the physical aspects of it, of your inspiration or the applications, and then kind of encircle what calls the most to you and what you want the story to be narrated as. So after writing down the uses of it and the aspects of it, I kind of encircled textured or for protection, and these are the keywords which will further be taken to my mood, and then through which I'll derive my silhouettes. So you can see there is protection, and then there is blast, because you know the moment you put chili in the hot tadka and then there's a blast. So the images are all related to that. There's textured and there is extra, because this Badgi chili just adds to the dish, right? So it's given as a last tadka. So that's why the keywords like that. So it's a traditional spice. So these are my keywords for the
Sounds good. I think what you've done is added the visual references of your keywords.
So there were basically 3 processes that I followed. The first one obviously began with, taking the shape of the chili as it is, maybe the macro images or the lines of it. So took the abstract lines, kind of developed shapes from that. Once this process was saturated, I moved to the next one, wherein I focused on feeling the texture of the chili while doodling over the croquis basically. And
Okay,
also-
so explain this a little bit. What did you just do on the ground? What did you played the sound of it? You closed your eyes and then you were just doodling, or
Yeah, so what happened was initially while I was just looking at it and drawing as it is, I got saturated after a certain point of time and I couldn't kind of innovate. So that is when I thought, ki, why not listen to the sound of the crackling of the chili when it's put in the hot oil, recorded the sound of that, and then while listening to it, closed my eyes and started doodling. So you can see random lines here over the croquis, and then also felt the texture while drawing the lines. So once this process also was saturated, moved to the next one, wherein I cut up chilies in different ways and then placed them in different portions of the croquis, and then the outline of the chili along with its shadow I kind of outlined and then developed shapes and different aspects of the garments from it. So combining the shapes and forms from all these came up with the silhouettes. So maybe just the lines from it went into the sleeve, or like placing this chili in this manner gave rise to the pants here. So the texture and the sound wala part, jahan pe irregular lines are there, that kind of further was refined to a neckline or the sleeve. So in this manner, it was refined again and again to come up with the final range.
The point to consider is definitely do not think about your final garment till this process. Basically, let your strokes just go freely according to the music or according to the sound of things or any other form, even if it is just drawing abstract forms and shapes, which is basically inspired from your motif or whatever the story is.
Then came the main, like the initial range. Then here you kind of balance the shape. For example, you have irregular lines here in the crop top.
Yeah, so before that, let's just have a quick recap. This is where we were before this process, right? So here is what you have taken different irregular shapes, which is coming on to this top or whatever that
Then you
created.
kind of move into the details, like how are you going to achieve that? It's through gathers over here, maybe.
Yes.
Then the facing details you are going to give here. So it's basically translating your sketch into.
So
actual
now,
garment.
so from here, the sketch is still, let's say, semi-practical in terms of garment technicalities and all. So from here, it has been taken into how the garment will be actualized with garment details. If there are any ruching, is this ruching or what is it?
Yeah, I've ruched up the fabric so that I get that wavy look.
And from there, the next process is coming down to actualizing your, let's say you're on the way, you're still realizing the garments, and this is more of your range
The
plan
initial
preview.
range wherein you have a lot of designs and then you'll have to kind of mix, and so that it looks very cohesive, right? So you'll have to balance the lines in the garments in different ways. For example, there's a crop top here, but then you can also, translate that into the other garment. So maybe the neckline over here, the length, everything you'll have to take care so that the range looks cohesive. This was still not happening, so kind of further revise the designs again to make it more technical and practically how am I going to achieve. And then finally came the range of 6 garments, balancing the color, the texture, everything.
Okay.
So this was my final range.
What made you decide on these 6 ensembles?
So, like I said, the earlier one, either they were too Indian or too contemporary. So I had to kind of go back to my earlier boards, wherein it, suits my category that I had chosen and the mood and the theme. So few were getting into more evening wear kind of a look.